2, why don't we go ahead and call this special called meeting of the Tennessee Board of Regents to order. And thanks for taking time in the middle of your busy day to accommodate this schedule. We have several important items of business this afternoon that are timely ones. For any other TBR officials or staff or folks from Memphis or West Tennessee, any media that are on the line, we welcome you as well. With that, Secretary Perry, would you get us started with the roll and those 2 questions?
I'd be glad to. Governor Lee, Regent Apple.
Here and yes to both questions.
Regent Burdine.
Here and yes to both questions.
Regent George.
Here, yes, and yes.
Regent Gill. Commissioner Hatcher.
Here, yes to both questions.
Regent Hooper.
Here and yes to both questions.
Regent Kastner. Regent Kastner, you might be muted.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Here and yes and yes.
Thank you. Regent Long. Regent Powers.
Here and yes to both.
Vice Chair Reynolds.
Here and yes to both.
Commissioner Schwinn. Regent Shelton.
I am here and yes to both.
Regent Smith. Regent Spurgeon.
Here, yes to both.
Regent Barlin.
Here and yes to both.
Regent Wamp.
Here and yes to both.
And Regent White.
Here and yes to both.
Thank you. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And I might just add for the record, since we're all accustomed to it, but for anybody else, the 2 questions are, could each regent hear and speak with others participating? And the second, are we alone? Are we each alone in the room? So just for the record, but thank you, Mariah. This meeting is held electronically today as it is the most efficient way for us to transact business in a timely fashion. And especially since these are non-controversial and routine items. I would propose to the board that this necessity to meet electronically be adopted by unanimous consent. But of course, if anyone prefers to have a roll call vote on this, you're more than welcome to object and to call for a roll call. But is there any objection to this necessity to meet electronically? Hearing none, the necessity is adopted, and I thank you all. With that, Chancellor, let's move into our business items, and I would like to call on you first for us to consider the criteria for the next president of Jackson State Community College.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you again to everyone for taking time out of your schedule to be on this important call this afternoon. The first item that I have to present to you is the search criteria for the next president of Jackson State Community College, which was provided in your materials prior to today's called meeting. Upon approval of the position, it will be posted and the recruitment process will begin. I want to thank Regent George for agreeing to serve as our chair of the committee, and to Regent Powers, Spurgeon, and Reynolds for agreeing to serve on this committee. The rest of the search committee is being filled out as we speak. An initial screening of applicants will begin in June, and it's anticipated that the next president will be selected prior to September 30, 2023. I have also asked our superwoman, Dr. Kim McCormick, to serve as our interim president until the position is filled after George retires. Madam Vice Chair, I call for a vote on this search criteria.
Thank you. Any questions for the Chancellor on this? If not, as she referenced, we do need a motion to approve the criteria as we move ahead with this search for Jackson State.
All motion.
Thank you, Regent
Second.
George. And a second? Thank you. I missed who. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Thank you all. Since we are meeting electronically, I will once again call on Mariah to call the roll. And this again is for the approval of the criteria at Jackson State Community College.
Regent Apple,
Aye.
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent George,
Aye.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Aye.
Regent Hooper,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent Powers,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reynolds,
Aye.
Regent Shelton,
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon,
Aye.
Regent Varlin,
Aye.
Regent Womp,
Aye.
and Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Chancellor and the team will get to work. And again, thanks to Regents George and Powers and Spurgeon for taking this one on. It'll be an excellent process. We have hopefully exciting news to offer this afternoon, and I'll come back to the Chancellor. I think she's going to ask us to consider a recommendation for the presidency at TCAP Memphis.
Absolutely, and this is extremely exciting news. If you will recall, the board met at a special called meeting on September 31st, 2022 to approve the search criteria for our next president at TCAP Memphis. Vice Chair Emily Reynolds served as chair of our committee, with Regent Nisha Powers and Regent Mark George also serving on the committee, as well as representatives of the college faculty, staff, students, alumni, and local civic and industry leaders. I'd like to take a moment to thank each member of the committee for their commitment and support with this search. The committee truly had the best interest of TCAP Memphis at heart and did an extraordinary job. I'd also like to take a moment to express our appreciation to April Preston, Lauren Sweeten, and Mariah Perry on conducting another successfully well-organized TCAP presidential search. After careful review of the applicants, interviews, and input from the committee, Madam Chair, I am most pleased to recommend to you Dr. Gwen Sutton as the next president of TCAP Memphis. Dr. Sutton currently serves as the vice president at TCAP Memphis and has been there since 2017. She has also served as the compliance and curriculum coordinator, student service coordinator, and financial aid coordinator at TCAP Memphis. Dr. Sutton received her doctorate of education at Trevecca Nazarene University, a master's of business administration at Bethel University, and a bachelor of science at Mississippi State University. She is also an alum of TCAP Covington, where she received a Computer Information Systems diploma in 2010. Madam Vice Chair, it is my pleasure to recommend to you Dr. Gwen Sutton as the best next president for TCAP Memphis.
Thank you, Chancellor, for an enthusiastic recommendation of Dr. Sutton. Let me just make a couple of comments regarding the search. She was one of two finalists that the advisory committee interviewed on campus. The search committee itself began its journey in November. We reviewed our applications at the end of February, and virtual interviews took place mid-March with 5 candidates that we saw on Teams. And then, as I mentioned, as a result of those interviews, the committee took that to 2 finalists. Those open forum interviews on campus were held on April 4, which brings us to today in this important meeting. It was a pleasure to serve as chair of the committee, but really what always makes it worthwhile is that you get to work with such an impressive and dedicated group of folks from the community, starting with our 2 regents, with Regents George and Powers, but folks from the campus, folks from across the community, as the Chancellor mentioned, make it special. And I think we all enjoyed the experience and learned a great deal from each other. So with that, I will turn to our 2 Memphians and ask them if they have any further comments. But importantly, may I have a motion and a second?
A hearty motion to approve the recommendation that was made by the Chancellor.
Thank you, Regent Powers. Regent George?
And I will second the motion. And I just want to tell Gwendolyn that, I think one of the things I liked best about her was how humble she was and how she honored her predecessor and just her passion about TCAT Memphis. She just resonated with compassion for TCAT Memphis, and I liked her vision and for where she wanted to go with TCAT Memphis, and I love the idea of promoting from within and her experience and tenure there at the school. So I just thought she's a great candidate, and I'm glad to see that the chancellor has chosen her.
Well, as you guys can hear, we have an enthusiastic motion and a second. Well said from you both. Any other comments or questions? If not, Mariah, let's make this official and call the roll.
Regent Apple,
Aye.
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent George,
Aye.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Aye.
Regent Hooper,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent Powers,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reynolds,
Aye.
Regent Shelton,
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon,
Aye.
Regent Barlin,
Aye.
Regent Womp,
Aye.
and Regent White.
Once again, I get to make it unanimous.
Very
Thank you.
nice.
Motion carries unanimously.
Very nice. Thank you. Dr. Sutton, the floor is yours. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I have never been more enthused to hear "I" that many times before in my life.
That's great.
So I would say to Chancellor Tidings and Vice Chair Reynolds, thank you for this opportunity to lead the efforts of the supporting this mission of the College System of Tennessee. And considering me as your next TCAT Memphis president, I'm truly humbled by your words and the work of the selection committee. I have to commend them because it was a rigorous process and they truly did their jobs throughout the interviewing process and also the public forums. And I want to publicly thank the two regents who served, Regents Powers and George. I do appreciate your support. I do look forward to working with you all and continuing the work of changing lives and communities at this leadership level. And I will say the most rewarding aspect of this consideration is making a positive impact in the region and nationally, which I can already see the impact just by the consideration that has been made throughout the school itself. So just know that there's more to come, and TCAT Memphis will not be the best kept secret anymore.
Well said, Dr. Sutton. There you go. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. That is a big smile on your face, and it's wonderful to see it and to hear the enthusiasm and commitment in your voice. So thank you. We'll look forward to working with you. That's great. Well done.
Likewise. Thank you.
So when does this take effect? When is this effective?
May 1. She's going to work.
I'm already at it.
That's great. You never stopped. That's right. Enjoy the weekend.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
On that good news note, Chancellor, I'm going to come back to you as we consider another set of criteria, this time at the TCAT Jackson. Please, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. The search criteria for the next president of TCAT Jackson was provided in your materials again prior to today's special call meeting. The criteria is the standard used for all TCAT presidential searches. The only difference is where it was modified with specific information regarding the college. And then we will have further discussion about this after our attorney has discussion after this. But at this moment, I'd like to call for your approval of the criteria.
The criteria itself. Any questions or comments from the Chancellor? We're approving the criteria, search criteria for the TCAT Jackson. If there are no questions, once again, we need a motion and a second.
So moved. Tom.
Thank you,
I'll
Tom.
second.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? If not, let's have a roll call vote to approve this search criteria. Mariah?
Regent Apple,
Aye.
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent George. Regent George, are you still?
Here he comes.
Oh, there he goes. Hi, Regent George.
Sorry about that. I missed it.
We are voting on the criteria for the president of TCAT Jackson.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hatcher,
Aye.
Regent Hooper,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent Powers,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reynolds,
Aye.
Regent Shelton,
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon, Regent Varlin,
Aye.
Regent Womp,
Aye.
and Regent White.
Aye.
And I see that Regent Spurgeon has had to step away. So with that, Madam Chair, that motion carries.
Thank you very much. So as the Chancellor mentioned, we now move to consider a revision to our policy with regard to the selection and retention of presidents. This will establish a formal process by which we can make certain exceptions to the policy. And as she said, with that, I would like to call on our General Counsel, Brian Lapps, to provide us further details.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the chair said, currently there's nothing in policy that explicitly gives the board the authority to vary from the process outlined in the selection and retention of presidents policy. The proposed revision that's in your materials, and that is, if you, next slide, please, is that the second bullet point on your screen formally establishes that under limited circumstances or exceptional circumstances, the board can vary certain aspects of the search process. As you can see from the materials, the proposal is to insert a single new paragraph. And what this is driven by is that certain aspects of the policy are required by state law and cannot be varied. This revision preserves those legal requirements, but it also provides flexibility as to the other aspects of policy, such as formation of a search committee, who is on the committee, review of candidates, and the like. So these revisions would make clear that if the board, if it determines that exceptional circumstances exist in any particular situation, can essentially do what UT did when Randy Boyd, after serving as interim president, became the president without a full search. That allowed UT to avoid a full search where the outcome was essentially known in advance. So this policy revision would formally establish a process for TBR to have the option to do the same. So if you adopt the revision, as a practical matter, here's what would happen if you decide that exceptional circumstances exist and you want to proceed with a single candidate. The Chancellor, following consultation and approval of the board here today, could identify a sole finalist. That would begin the required public vetting period. And then there would still be more steps, both required by statute and policy, that would need to be taken before a vote to appoint a new president. Application and other records related to the candidacy would need to be made open for inspection. That needs to happen at least 15 days before the board votes on any recommendation. There would need to be at least one public forum that happens at least 7 days prior to any vote, and that's the public vetting. After the public forum, Dr. Tidings would be able to recommend a candidate to you, and then you could vote on the candidate at a meeting.
Brian, are you done?
I'm done. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Good summary. And I know everybody's had a chance to review this, but do you have any further questions or comments for Brian on this? Hearing none, I would appreciate a motion to approve this policy revision.
I'll move for approval.
Thank you very much. That was Miles.
Correct.
Second.
Danny, I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you, Danny. And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mariah, let's call the roll.
Regent Apple,
Aye.
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent George,
Aye.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Aye.
Regent Hooper,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent Powers,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reynolds,
Aye.
Regent Shelton.
Aye.
I'm just checking Regent Spurgeon. I know he's in a bad spot with weather. Regent
Oh.
Farland,
Aye.
Regent Womp, Regent Womp, are you still with us?
Aye.
Thank you. And
Unmute.
Regent White.
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Chair, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks to you all. Now, with this policy revision, we're going back to the Chancellor, who has some thoughts to share with us on this TCAT Jackson search, and would like to ask us to consider the application of this new policy provision and revision. Chancellor?
Yes, thank you, board members, for approving the revisions to the policy. And given the exceptional circumstances of establishing the Blue Oval campus site for TCAT Jackson, while at the same time searching for the next president of TCAT Jackson, I believe this qualifies as a rare instance for the board to consider the designation of a sole finalist. Today, I am asking for consideration of Dr. Heath McMillan to be considered as your sole finalist for the position of president of TCAT Jackson. Dr. McMillan is uniquely qualified for the position in that he started as executive director of TCAT Jackson Blue Oval City campus in May of 2022, and in October of 2022 was asked to serve as interim president of TCAT Jackson when President Sisk was moved to the system office to serve as the executive director for the Center for Workforce Development. Since that time, Dr. McMillan has continued to do an exceptional job of overseeing the work with Ford, SK, their suppliers, and all of the constituency in the region. From his resume that was sent to you earlier today, I believe you can see that he is well qualified to meet our credentials for president and has already proven himself as an interim president and is most uniquely qualified for TCAT Jackson. I am truly confident that the best person for the president of TCAT Jackson is the person currently doing the job, and believe it is in the best interest of TCAT Jackson, the communities they serve, and the system to move forward with Dr. Heath McMillan as your sole finalist for the position.
Thank you, Chancellor. Has Regent Spurgeon rejoined us by chance? If not, I'll simply say, and I was hoping, and I'm sorry, Kyle, hopefully is okay if there's bad weather going through wherever he is. At least to me, from what I heard, obviously Chancellor, as always, has laid out the detailed facts and rationale to move in this direction. If you all are ready, or unless you have any other questions for the Chancellor, we'll take this in two bites, if you will. We first need a motion that exceptional circumstances, that policy revision you just voted on, that these exceptional circumstances, as the Chancellor just outlined them, exist. But before I call for a motion, any other comments or clarifications you might need of the Chancellor?
I know Kyle is very, very pleased with Heath. We've talked about it several times. Heath used to be up here.
Mm-hmm.
We miss him, we lost him, but he's in a good place right now. Very, very happy for him.
That's great. Thank you, Miles. That's very helpful. Anyone else? Regent Burdine, then, based on that, would you like to call the motion, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So we are looking for a motion that these exceptional circumstances exist. So the motion from Regent Burdine, do we have a second?
Second, it's Tom.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mariah, would you call the roll?
Regent Apple,
Aye.
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent George,
Aye.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Aye.
Regent Hooper,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye. Aye.
Regent Powers,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reynolds,
Aye.
Regent Shelton,
Aye.
Regent Barlin,
Aye.
Regent Womp,
Aye.
and Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all very much. So based on the process that Brian outlined, now that we've approved these exceptional circumstances, it sounds as if as this process unfolds, we could certainly complete this around on or around our board meeting coming up June 15, 16. So once again, based on the Chancellor's recommendation, and unless she has any other comments, what we're looking for now is a motion to select Heath McMillan as the sole finalist for the presidency at the TCAT Jackson, again, with the goal of completing that action by June 16. Chancellor, anything else?
I will just layer on to what Miles said with regard to the comments that were made when I've talked to everyone with regard to Heath. It has been extremely positive. Kyle Spurgeon is over the moon with the job that Heath has been doing, and he was going to share that with you himself. Unfortunately, he's not able to do so. But everyone in the community has been so excited and happy to have him there. Ford considers him a part of their team. And one of the things Kyle expressed to me is he was so afraid they were going to try to steal him from us because they are so happy with the great job that he's doing in that area. So again, just to reiterate that he is absolutely a uniquely qualified individual for this position, and we are just very excited. His wife has also just recently found a job over in the area working with the local school system, so they are both committed to West Tennessee.
That is excellent. Thank you very much. So with the Chancellor's comments, do we have a motion to select Heath McMillan as the sole finalist for the presidency at TCAT Jackson?
I'll move for.
Mary Lou.
Thank you. Miles, you want a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Regent Burdine. Any further discussion? If not, let's make this official once again with a roll call vote. Secretary Perry.
Regent Apple,
Aye.
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent George,
Aye.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Aye.
Regent Hooper,
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Sorry. Aye.
Thank you. Regent Powers,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reynolds,
Aye.
Regent Shelton,
Aye.
Regent Barlin,
Aye.
Regent Womp,
Aye.
and Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Very good. Good work, everybody. And we'll look forward to watching this process unfurl here over the next few weeks as we head to our board meeting. We're knock on wood, we can make this official for Heath McMillan, who has done a brilliant job for us from east to west. So thank you all. Chancellor, any closing comments or announcements from your end?
Just to remind everyone, we have $1 billion in the budget. I'll say that every chance I get, like College of the Year. Great end into the session, and we could not be more pleased. We will have all of that outlined to show everyone exactly what was included in that budget for us, including some extra dollars that was added into the supplemental budget. So exciting and looking forward to it. And I'm going to take pictures of the General Holmes War Room to show y'all the work that's already being done to spend that $1 billion. It's amazing, and they are rolling right along to get that done. So thanks to everyone for all of your votes today to help us move the system forward in an extremely expedient and positive manner.
Exactly. Well said. And I know from the interest we saw at the last board meeting, to you mentioning General Holmes's War Room, I know this group's going to continue to look forward to those updates. It's not every day we get to spend $1 billion. So this is exciting. So, and we know with your leadership, it will happen in all the right ways. I'm sorry?
I just want to say congratulations to Dr. Sutton one more time.
Indeed. There she is. She's still smiling.
Hey,
so that's good.
Emily,
yes.
Kyle sent me a video why he had to jump off.
Uh-huh.
He's in the middle of something nasty. I mean,
Oh my
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in
Where is he?
Florida, so it's
He's in
really
Florida,
bad
yeah.
storm. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness me. Well, I'm sorry he couldn't finish, but I hope he's okay. So thanks for letting
Does
us
anybody
know.
know where in Florida? Because I'm supposed to be flying to Boca in an hour, and they just moved the stupid. Now they can't fly, so I'm so mad. But I wonder where he is.
Danny, I think you might want to be happy you can't fly right this minute.
No kidding.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
No
bad
kidding.
down
Miles can find out and text you.
I'll ask him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So boy, then the East Coast is getting beat up, it sounds like, this afternoon.
Mhm.
So folks, just a couple of quick reminders before we go. Chancellor's evaluation is due for completion Wednesday, May 3. Responses are coming in, but we need 100% participation from you guys if at all possible. If you need to reach out to April Preston on this, she'll be glad to send it back to you or send you in the right direction. But again, it doesn't take a great deal of your time, but it is timely to complete. So thanks for taking care of that. And then, of course, we will all be together again on Teams Wednesday, May 31, which will be here before we know it, for committee chairs and the audit committee meetings. And finally, I will just say, some of our TCATs have already started commencements, but we are moving into commencement season, and I hope those of you who can are taking advantage of joining our TCATs and community colleges at commencements around the state. It is a very special time of year. So if there is no further business to come before us this afternoon, thank you for a good afternoon's worth of work, and look forward to talking with you all soon. We are adjourned. Thank you.